Wow, look at this. What a massive honor to speak to the hitman himself, Ricky Hatton, one of the greatest of all time, one of the most beloved boxers of all time. And at 43 years young, he is returning on July 2nd at the AO Arena, aka the Manchester Arena, aka the Manchester Evening News Arena. It's going to be quite the scene against Marco Antonio Barrera. I don't know if I'm speaking to the 2007 version of Ricky Hatton right now or the 2022 version of him, because I can hardly recognize the man. Ricky, how are you?
I'm great and brilliant. Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be brilliant going back to the Manchester Arena. I had so many fights there over the years. I could have practically moved my bed in at one at one point, but no, it's good. I'm getting a lot of feedback. I've really enjoyed my training camp. Feel really, really good. A lot of feedback and positiveness from people saying how well I look, and that my son's not too happy because Campbell, my son boxes now Campbell, doesn't he? And everyone says that we look like brothers now. I've lost a bit of weight, so he's not too happy about that. But no, everything positive, everything really, really good.
You say you lost a bit of weight. Could you tell us exactly when you accepted this fight against Marco Antonio Barrera, an exhibition bout? How much did you weigh, and how much do you weigh right now?
I weighed. I know it's pounds. For you guys in the States, isn't it? But I was about 210.
And how about now?
And now I'm 11 stone 8, 11 stone 10, which is about 130. No, not 135. That's lower than 10.
Like around 154.
Yeah, about 12 stones. About 12 stones. 11. Yeah.
Okay,
about that. So it's about
40 to 50 pounds.
Yeah.
This is
about
incredible.
That.
So in reality, like, you've already won, right? I mean, of course you want to go out there, and I know there's not going to be a winner declared, but just the fact that this has allowed you to lose the weight, clean up your life, live a healthy, happy lifestyle, get all this positive feedback, this has already been a success for you, right?
It has, yeah, very much so. I mean, obviously, it's been a bad time for all of us, with lockdown, with COVID and people's mental health. It's been a bad time. I lost family through mental health due to the COVID, and I lost friends through COVID, as I'm sure a lot of us out there have. And I got a phone call one day, and they said, "Listen, Ricky, we've heard a few comments of you, that." After the Roy Jones Mike Tyson exhibition, where you was asked if one of these exhibition bouts come forward for you, would you be interested? And I said, yeah. I said I'd be interested if if the right people got involved and they could do the show justice with the right opponent and stuff like that. So then when I had the phone call, would I like to have I move around at the Manchester Arena with my friend Marco and Antonio Barrera, and as a bit of a celebration of everybody coming out of COVID. Bearing in mind that I've lost friends through COVID and family through mental health and stuff like that, it was a very, very easy decision to make, and to actually Marco's been a friend of mine for years, and I never thought I'd ever share the ring with him, but I'm getting to do that now, so I know how good he is, but I'm going to find out firsthand just how good he is. So it's a dream in more ways than one. Not only is it about me, my own well-being and doing something positive, but if people can watch me on July 2nd and go, oh my Lord, do you remember Ricky Hatton a few years ago? How fat he was suicidal, he was heavily drinking, he was into drugs, and look what you can do when you put your mind to something. If one person notices that, then it's been a success.
Considering how good you feel now, and let's say it goes well for you on the 2nd of July, is it possible this might be the return of more fights for you, or are you viewing this as a one-off?
I haven't looked that far forward, to be honest with you. If it goes and it's the success, which I know it will be, I'd be open to looking at it. Yeah, absolutely. And but I think it's more not just me getting in shape, because I mean, when I was young, I used to put the weight on, you know what I mean? And I could always say, and I used to go down the pub every night, and I used to think, well, it doesn't matter because I'll be in training camp soon again and I'll be able to get it off and that. But, as you get to 43, there's not many more training camps to look forward to, is there? So I think this is going to be, because you get a little bit older, a little bit wiser, life slows down for us all. But I think this is a lifestyle change, for me. You know what I mean? I can't make a comeback every time I want to shift a bit of weight, can I? You know what I mean? So it's the fact that I've had this opportunity again, get my weight down, looking healthy, and everybody, I'm getting a huge buzz of people saying how well I look. And listen, if I go back to the old Ricky, I'm back up to the 210, 215 pound mark. We can't put an exhibition on every time we want Ricky to lose a bit of weight. So I think I've got to be mature in the way I live my life now. And to be honest with you, it's been like that for a few years, guys. To be honest with you, life slowed down a lot for Ricky. Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about this, and I'm curious, like at your lowest, could you describe how you were feeling? I've heard you mention suicide, and that's obviously a big term, and I know it has affected your family. It's close to home for you, but where were you at your lowest, and why were you at your lowest?
Oh, didn't care whether I lived or died. There was a few things. I mean, the defeat from Floyd Mayweather, and I know, granted, it was Floyd Mayweather. I mean, people would say, listen, there's no shame in that, which there wasn't. But in my mind, I was devastated. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm a fighter, I'm a champion. Even though it was Floyd Mayweather, I was still devastated, and it hit me really hard. And I made a comeback. I boxed at the City of Manchester Stadium in my comeback fight in front of 60,000 fans. Always been a Manchester City, big Man City fan, and to box at the stadium, that was brilliant. So my frame of mind was down after the Mayweather fight. Then it was back up at boxing after City. But then I fell out with Billy Graham, who was my lifelong trainer, because I felt that Billy was having had too many injury problems and he couldn't do the job to the level he used to do. So me and Billy fell out, which affected me really, really hard, because he wasn't just my trainer. He was one of my best friends. And so that mentally put me down again. Then I boxed Paulie Malignaggi in Las Vegas, and stopped Paulie with a great performance. And then ultimately I got destroyed then by Manny Pacquiao in 2 rounds, which ultimately meant I had to retire. And shortly after the Pacquiao fight, I fell out with my mum and dad also. So you can see the snowball effect of mentally where my mind was going. And when I had to retire, I thought I had no boxing, I had no Billy Graham, I had no mum and dad who's been there from day one. I didn't care whether I lived or died, and tried to slit my wrist on several occasions, and was just everywhere I went, I just found I was crying morning, noon, and night. It was an horrific time for me, and it's probably more documented more in the UK than back over there for you guys in the States. But for someone who was so regarded so highly in British boxing, or I don't like to say it, but they say like a little bit of a national treasure to be in the state it wasn't nice for family, friends, or the nation to see, I would say.
How's your relationship now with your parents?
That's the good thing that I'm talking about. I've made up with Billy Graham. You know what I mean? I've made up with my mum and dad. I didn't speak to my mum and dad for 7 years, but I've made up with my mum and dad. And as you get a little bit older, you look at your outlook on life, and you look at things a little bit differently. And yeah, I'm training boxing, and I think to myself back then, if I had have taken my life, I wouldn't have made up with Billy Graham. I wouldn't have made up with my mum and dad. I wouldn't have seen my son Campbell turn professional. Campbell's 7 unbeaten now, as a professional. I'm also a grandfather now. Campbell's a father, so I have granddaughter Lila. I have Millie and Fern, who are my 2 young girls. They were growing up to be wonderful young ladies. And I think to myself, if I had have took my life, look at all this, what I'd have lost out. I wouldn't have been in a busy. Certainly wouldn't have been able to do this comeback. Life is, there's never going to be. I think like any champion out there, once you've been a world champion and had that belt raised and your hand raised, and in my case, thousands of fans singing "There's only one Ricky Hatton," and I appreciate them days are gone. But I would have missed out on so much of life if I'd have taken my life. And the best advice I can give to anyone is do what I did. I went and spoke to someone. I went and saw a doctor. I threw myself on my knees, put my arms around him. I said, I'm going to kill myself. I said, I can do anything in that boxing ring, but I said, I can't. I'm struggling with life and everything. I said, I want to kill myself. And if you can't tell me what to do, I said, it's going to happen. And bit by bit, that's where we are today. Come out the other end and doing an exhibition with Marco at 43 years of age. When I look back at maybe 10, 11 years ago, when I nearly wasn't here, makes me feel very proud.
And by the way, I can't thank you enough for being this open and candid. Not a lot of people would do that, especially
Yeah, exactly. But I think the more open I am, the more people out there, whether in the UK or the United States, because I think it's a going problem, people's mental health all over the world, isn't it? Really, nobody wants to admit that they're crying every day. Nobody wants to admit that their head's falling. If you say you suffer from mental health, everyone thinks you've lost the plot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. It's an illness, and it's an illness that nobody can see. And unless you go and speak about it, nobody will know. And that's why so many people are taking their own lives. It's so important for me. And if I can have this exhibition for my own well-being, for people's well-being who are in the same boat as I was a few years ago, and hearing the crowd sing "There's Only One Ricky Hatton" again with Marco Antonio Barrera, I can't see anything negative to come out of this event.
And so I'm wondering, going to speak to someone, a lot of people say that, but I think what people don't understand is how hard it is to make that phone call or take that first step to seek help. Who got you to seek help? Who pushed you in that direction? Because that is the toughest part at times.
I don't know, because a lot of people knew that I wasn't in a good place. Like me, my partner at the time, my ex, who I lived with, Jennifer, she knew I wasn't well, but she didn't know to the extent. I mean, I was a boxing trainer. When I retired from boxing, I was a boxing trainer, which I am now. But when I first started as a boxing trainer, I'd go to the gym, tell a few jokes as I've always done and crack a few smiles. And on the surface, everyone in the gym thought Ricky was good. And then I'd come home, and before the missus had come home, I'd be sat there crying. And then all of a sudden, when she'd come through the door, I'd wipe the tears away. So I think close family and my partner at the time, they knew I wasn't in a good place, but not to the extent I was, because I wasn't telling anybody. And that's what people, especially men, probably ladies as well, but more so men, nobody wants to, ladies can discuss it with their friends, can't they? As ladies, sometimes do. But I mean, I can't, phone my mates up and go, "Hey mate, I'm crying all day," because you feel like you're not a man. If you like, it's quite hard to explain, but I hope you're painting a picture of where I'm coming from. It was hard. And, the only time when people saw me was in a bad way. It was when I would go out for a drink, because I'd go out for a drink. Whether I had a drink or not, I was crying constantly and all that. But when I had a drink, it would cover the cracks for a few hours, but then it would make worse. And people could see, people locally, that have been watching me for years, and look back as, Ricky there in the corner crying, what's up with him? I mean, it was horrid to see. So the feedback I'm getting from family, friends, and just people when I'm walking down the street locally who've seen me in them bad times and are seeing me now, it's great, So I feel like I'm not just helping myself with this exhibition, I'm helping others.
Do you believe any part of the issues that you dealt with had to do with, just the fact that you were punched in the head a lot? Like, do you feel like CTE played a role in any of this?
Absolutely not. No, I think, if you think to yourself, you got my first knockout defeat by Mayweather, so I was down, then I boxed at Manchester City, I was up, then I fell out with Billy Graham, I was down, then I beat Malignaggi, I was up, then I got knocked out by Pacquiao and I had to retire and I was down, and then fell out with my parents. It's pretty clear, I think, for the reason why my head fell off, as a UK saying, why my head fell off. I think it's pretty clear to see. And, I wasn't the most talented fighter there's ever been. I wasn't the greatest fighter there's ever been by a long shot, but I was a proud fighter. And when defeats like that came along and things going wrong in my personal life, because I'm a very, very proud man, it probably affected me probably more than it would probably do the average Joe, if you like. You know what I mean? That it was a real horrific time. And the first question was asked, when I said that I was going to do this exhibition bout, was come from family and friends and loved ones, and like that. "Oh, Ricky, what are you doing this exhibition for? Oh, let's not go through it again. Oh, we don't want to see you get hurt." But as they've seen what it's done for me mentally, and physically, and the positiveness and what I'm doing for other people's well-being as well, seeing what good spirits and what good shape I'm in. It's worked, and I think you can tell me now, my mate, that I think if you know, through getting punched to the head, I don't think I have slur of speech. I wouldn't say I'm intelligent by any means, but I don't think I talk with a slur of speech. I don't think I talk a load of rubbish. I think I'm talking a lot of sense. I think a lot of listeners out there will see my point and where I'm coming from. I'd like to think when you listen and look at me, you don't see someone who's been affected from that side of the game. I think I'm in as good a shape as I've ever been physically and mentally. In fact, it's been wonderful for my mum and dad to see this. Never mind the shape, the physical condition you're in. Just looking in my eyes, all clear, and my speech and how positive I am. They were worried about me doing the exhibition at first, but now them worries have been put to bed because what they're seeing in front of them.
It was so much fun to watch you when you were in your prime because I can't think of many other fighters that were so beloved, especially by their home nation, and your fans would travel regardless of where you fought. Blue Moon it's one of the greatest entrances of all time. The chant, there's only one Ricky Hatton, it's iconic. And I'm wondering, because of all of that, is there any advice, if any, that you could give to a fighter in your shoes? Because I would imagine one of the toughest things to deal with as a fighter is when that music stops, right? When those chants stop, when you just become a regular guy and you're not being showered with praise, fighting in front of 18, 20, 60,000 people. How do you deal with that? Us common people don't understand that, but at some point it just ends. How do you cope with that?
Yeah, it's very hard, and I think if any advice I could give, you've got to give yourself something to do on a daily basis. You've got to fill your minutes of your day up. You know what I mean? The thing is with boxers, it's a very when you first lace the gloves on, you either love boxing or you don't. The first time you get punched on the nose, you think either it's not for me or you don't, and it's a very addictive sport. And I think you don't share it with 10 teammates or 9 or 10 or 11 teammates. You know what I mean? To stand in that ring in front of thousands of people, like on television across the United States and across the UK, and having your hand raised, and the thing, it's very hard to walk away from that, and that's why I struggled with it. But I think you've got to have a backup plan because boxers, we don't last forever. Do you know what I mean? You've got to. I think you've got to look after your money. You've got to look after your health because 9 times out of 10, most boxers will retire at 34, but your money has still got to last you. You've still got a life after boxing when you're 34 onwards. You know what I mean? So you've got to. I think before you retire, I put the bricks in place, of what you're going to do after your retirement. Because boxers know I've only got a couple of years left. When it's strung on you, you think, oh no, I need to retire now. What am I going to do now? That's the hardest thing. But if you turn around and say, listen, yeah, I'm going to have a couple more fights in me, and I think you got a plan for the future. Because it's not like the majority of people that work until they're 50, 55, 60 even, or something like that. We're done for 34, and you've got a whole lot of living in front of you still when you retire from boxing at 33, 34 years of age. And you've got to find something that makes you happy and fills the gap. You'll never fill the gap because there's, as I mentioned, to stand in that ring, and have your hand raised in front of thousands of people, you'll never replace that. But you've got to find the next best thing. And I think the sooner you can get the foundations in place, I think the better you'll be when you do hang them up. Yeah.
All right, we're going to get back to that conversation in just a moment, but I do want to tell you once again about our good friends over at NordVPN. I love these guys. And you know what? A couple weeks from now, I'm going back home to the Great White North, and I will need them because when I'm up there in Canada, I can't get my ESPN Plus. I can't get my DAZN, my Disney Plus, my HBO Max, my Hulu. I can't get any of them unless I have NordVPN. And trust me, I need to watch fights on those platforms and shows and movies, so I'll be using my NordVPN. And as you know, in the world of sports and entertainment, it can be difficult when you're traveling around, trying to follow your favorite teams, trying to follow your big events, your big fighters, all that stuff. So when you have a service like NordVPN at your fingertips, all that trouble, all that worry goes away. It's as easy as the click of a button. Let me explain. With NordVPN, you can A, find a server near you for better speed, and you can connect to a faraway location to freely explore the internet. B, watch your favorite events without interruption because of NordVPN's fast streaming speeds. C, use NordVPN on up to 6 devices, even on your smart TV. And best of all, D, NordVPN lets you use the top streaming platforms at a lower price. What's better than that? So grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/Ariel, Ariel. And if you do so, you get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus free threat protection, plus 1 additional month for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Again, that's nordvpn.com/Ariel. Support them because they support us. All right, now back to my conversation. It's so great to be speaking to you, but especially this week, just a couple of days ago over the weekend was the 17th anniversary of perhaps your greatest triumph, your win over Kostya. And I believe that was the first time you were an underdog. A lot of people didn't think you'd be able to do it, and you rose to the occasion, and that, I think, was the victory that everyone started to say, oh my God, this guy is legit. He's not just a British fighter. What sticks out the most when you think back to that incredible night when you pulled off that great victory? What, like when you first start thinking about it, what memories come to mind?
Well, it said at the time that if I was able to pull off the victory, it would go down as one of the greatest ever wins in a British boxing ring. And that's what I'm very proud to say it was. He was such a formidable champion and formidable puncher. And the fact that nobody really gave me a chance, because everyone knows my style. I was 100 mile an hour, do you know what I mean? And my defense wasn't the greatest. Sometimes I'd take 3 or 4 to get one in sometimes foolishly. And you don't want to take 3 or 4 off Kostya, do you, to be honest with you? So I think people were supporting me, even the Manchester crowd on the night. They were behind me. They supported me. They wanted me to do it, as I was one of their own. And, but I think you could see there was a nerve. I could feel in the ring and in the changing rooms on the night, there was like a nervous tension in the crowd where, listen, your heart's in the right place and our heart's right behind you, Ricky, but we don't fancy your chances too much here. But my game plan and our game plan was to stick to him when most people were feared of his power. One of my greatest attributes was, I had no fear. I was very brave, do you know what I mean? And I thought if I can move in on him quickly, I take the sting out of his right hand. And if I can stay on his chest and work away, then, and lean on him a bit, as the fight goes on, I'll be able to drain him of his strength and sap him a little bit, then put my foot on the gas, as they say, down the home straight. And the tactics were perfect. But because he was such a well-known fighter, such a well-known champion, I think he was pound for pound number 2 at the time, if I'm not mistaken. It went down as one of the greatest British wins ever in a British ring. And it obviously, because of the champion he was, it obviously made a splash over in the United States, which opened the door for me for so many wonderful fights, wonderful times, and wonderful memories fighting in the United States. Do you know what I mean? It opened the doors. I beat Carlos Mauser to unify the belts after. And then I went over, and then the United States journey started for me, first in Boston against Louis Collazo, and then I beat Juan Urango in Las Vegas, followed by Jose Luis Castillo, and then the fights with Floyd and Malignaggi and Manny. Still were some of my greatest moments. And even though I said that I struggled with the Mayweather defeats and the Pacquiao defeats, yeah, that was back then. But the Ricky Hatton now looks back with them with so much pride. And when people from Manchester and England, they still talk about him this day, certainly the one against Floyd. And I like to think I speak for Floyd because I went and watched Floyd when he fought Manny. And I don't think it was close to the atmosphere around the casinos and around Las Vegas and around the Strip that it was when I fought Floyd. It was unbelievable. And because me and Floyd were so different personality-wise, it was like, remember the 24/7 program, which was fantastic for viewers. It was like good cop, bad cop, wasn't it? Floyd was the bad guy, I was the good guy, and Floyd's a master boxer, and I was the scrapper brawler, and he's showing off all his bling, and I was in the pub having a beer. You know what I mean? We sort of like, it made that 24/7 build-up was really something else. And then And I think I like to think I speak for Floyd. I don't think Floyd's had a fight with that build up, that atmosphere, that people in the casinos. You know, you just couldn't move for fight fans, and it ended in defeat. It was one of my proudest ever moments, and I will always feel blessed that I was. I think I earned my right to fight Floyd because of who had beat up to there, you know. But I'll be forever grateful that I was born in the era of Floyd Mayweather, because he gave me so many great times and changed my life for my family. And there's the big Brits that will be talking about that fight and all the fights in the United States I had till the day they die. It was a sensational time for me and my fans.
Yeah, dare I say that's the best 24/7. My friends and I would often recite one of your lines from 24/7. That one, look at me jewels, look at me rings, look at me custom made suits. Who gives a fuck? You were making fun of him.
Yeah,
it was always about all that stuff. It was tremendous stuff. And
but Floyd was trying to get under my skin, and my way is never, because I'm never disrespectful to my opponents or to anyone. But I used to have a go back with humour, didn't I? You know what I mean? Where Floyd would be serious, taking the mickey, and I'd have a one-liner or a gag or something like that. And I think even Floyd must have been scratching his head, thinking, "What's up with this kid? What it's all about?" But wonderful times, and it just shows you what a nice place I'm in, where I struggled so hard with them defeats to now that I can sit here and talk to you and laugh and joke and talk about good times. And that's exactly what they were. They were very good times.
By the way, I'm wondering, and correct me if I'm wrong, your first entrance to, or maybe introduction to combat sports was actually kickboxing, but because of your length, your stature, someone suggested that boxing might be better. And I understand that you grew up sort of, looking up to and admiring Bruce Lee. And so I'm wondering if mixed martial arts, UFC, was as popular back then as it is today, would Ricky Hatton have gone down the MMA route because of these interests?
I don't know. Probably not. I think I'd have. I think if I'd have got in early and they'd taught me, someone would have taught me how to grapple, because I was a pretty good grappler in the boxing. Never mind mixed martial arts. But I think if someone had shown me, I'd have probably took to it, because that's pretty much what I was like. There's kicking in mixed martial arts. So to be honest with you, I for the same reason why my legs were too short, I wasn't very good at the kicking. I don't think I'd have been very good at the kicking in mixed martial arts either. But I could punch, I could grapple. So, probably I could, you never know. There's probably cause for saying that I may have gone down that route, as I was short, stocky, strong. If I got you on the mat, I think I'd stand a pretty good chance, you know what I mean? But I was good with my fists. But I think I might have still gone the boxing route, if I'm brutally honest, because I was such a boxing anorak, in the sense I was a boxing historian from a very, very young age. I used to watch all the great fighters and the tapes. Remember, Mike Tyson was one of the best back in the day. He used to get all the videos out of all the champions of old, and that's exactly what I was like. So I always set my sights on I'm going professional, being a world champion. I boxed very well for England as an amateur. I got a bronze in the World Juniors and won 9 national titles in the UK. So there was probably argument maybe I could have gone to the Olympics, but I think deep down in my heart, I wanted to be like a Nigel Benn, to throw a few Brits names, I wanted to be, I wanted to be like a Roberto Duran, a Sugar Ray Leonard. I wanted to see my names up in the strip. And that was from a very, very young age. So, yeah, even if martial arts might have come along at the time and was about at the time, yeah, I'd have no doubt I'd have looked at it and give it a go. But I think boxing was always going to be my route, yeah.
Just have a couple more questions and I'll let you go. And again, thank you so much for the time. There's actually a big UFC star right now who's reminiscent of you. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's from Liverpool. His name is Paddy Pimblett. And why I bring him up to you is he has been knocked, especially over the last few months. Because
Paddy the Baddy.
Paddy the Baddy, yes,
I've heard
exactly.
his, yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
He gets very big in between fights, and it's reminiscent of
Well, you
your
don't want to
day.
introduce him to me, then he's no chance.
Well, would you, looking back, and he says no problem. He makes 145, so he gets really big, but then when it's
Yeah.
time to get serious, but would you advise him to not let himself get so big? Like looking back on your
I would
career,
advise him to, yeah, to be honest with you. I mean, to me personally, I think people followed Ricky Hatton because I like to think I was down to earth. I had my feet on the ground. I never bad-mouthed an opponent. I was good fun to be around. I was humorous. I was funny. And my style of fighting, body punching and attacking, and the fact that I'd move up and down in weights, I'd fight anybody. I think that's why I had my fan base. But I think people followed me because I was, there's a saying in England, scallywag, a bit of a Jack the Lad, that type. And because I'd finish a fight, then I'd be down the pub, and then I'd be, I'd be in McDonald's, you know what I mean? And then I'd, be playing darts in the pub, or you'd see me on the turnstiles at Man City, and people they could relate to me because I was no different to the people that supported me. And I think that's why my fan base and why it still is as popular as it is now is because it wasn't just the boxing with me, it was the other. So I wouldn't change anything personally because I think the fan base that I have, which is my greatest ever achievement, is what it is because I was a dickhead, if that makes sense. So, but I am a trainer now. Campbell, my son's gone professional, he's trained by my brother Matthew. I manage him. I train about 5 or 6, 7 unbeaten professional prospects all coming through, and I tell them, I say, do as I say, not as I do. It's one of them with me. I weigh them before every session. I weigh them after every session. If they have a few weeks off in between the fights, they've got to come back a certain weight because I'm a firm believer. I think I could have been an even better boxer. Maybe could have got a few more years out of my career if I'd have looked after myself. I thought, very proud to say, I fought at world level against some of the best pound for pound fighters in the world. And I did it with one hand behind my back because I was a dickhead with what I put in my mouth. So I would advise him, listen, no, for a short, and it's a short career, it comes and goes in the blink of an eye. Anything you can do to damage your body, stay away from it. Just for them few years to dedicate yourself. And then, when you're sat in your big house, you'll sit back and go, you know what, I did right then. But personally, I wouldn't change anything for the world because people love me for that side of me. But as I'm moving forward and trying to give advice to the people that are coming through, no. Live like Floyd Mayweather. Live every day as a professional. And I tell you what, it's not just his ability why Floyd's what he is. It's why he's where he is now today, still in unbelievable shape because he looks after his body. And and that's what you've got to do. Our job, we don't go stacking shelves or anything like that. Our body pays the bills. So don't do anything that will ruin it, I think.
And you mentioned the drinking, and obviously you had your issues with substance abuse. Are you completely clean now?
Absolutely, yeah. It's been a long time. Was a long time coming, but I consider myself now as a boxing trainer. I'm making this exhibition bout. Obviously, so I'm doing that. I'm a motivational speaker and ambassador for mental health. Nowadays, and I see my days, there's people, whether it be addiction problems, whether it be mental health or depression or anything like that. I see that as much as me job today, because people who I've had that, substance abuse, I've had that, depression, I've had that suicidal side in my game, you know what I mean? But these things you can do in order to, knock it on the head. You can knock it on the head and you can come through it. And you know what, you might not be doing an exhibition with Marco Antonio Barrera, but you can be sat where I'm sat, healthy, in a good place, doing your family thing, doing your day-to-day job. And, life goes on without all that shit. And you can get over it if you do the right things.
Do you still speak to a therapist?
I have a therapist on speed dial, to be honest with you. If anything, there's anything wrong, but I'm very, very proud to say I've not spoke to him for 5 or 6 years. And,
you don't need it.
I know he's always there if need be. And that's what, I still have bad days. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I think I feel like shit here. What's up with me? And you don't know. But, I have a regime and a routine that I've been that I've done that keeps me positive. You know, if I'm feeling a little bit down in the dumps, I'll go to the gym and I'll do a few rounds on the bag, and then I'll come home. I'll have a cup of tea or a coffee, and then I'll go down the gym and train my lads, and then I'll pick me granddaughter up, and just things that make you smile, keep you busy, finish your time, fill your minutes during the day. And believe it or not, then you come to, you feel like shit in the morning, then you come to tea time, dinner time, and you're bouncing again, and or you can do what I did for years, just sit on your sofa, just moaning to yourself and complaining about how bad things have gone to you. I mean, it's a sad situation for people to be in, but you've got to get off your ass and you've got to do it. And there's only you can. And if you can turn your life around.
Last question, and I feel like it's an obvious one, but I would kick myself if I didn't ask. July 2nd, Manchester Arena, Marco Antonio Barrera versus Ricky Hatton exhibition bout. You are walking out to Blue Moon, yes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with a few little tweaks and a few little things that I like to think the fans will enjoy. But I mean, I think it's nobody's been to a Ricky Hatton fight, whether it be a fight or an exhibition, or whether you hear me do me stand up or whatever. I like to think you're always going to get enjoyment when you go and watch Ricky Hatton in whatever he does. And July the 2nd will be the same. Will be absolutely the same, to be honest. And to do it, I feel so privileged to be able to do it with Marco Antonio Barrera. I tell you what, anyone who's going to be there, and for me to hear that roar of the crowd one last time, it's going to be a very, very special night for me and anyone who's bought a ticket or anybody who tunes in to watch it.
Yeah, and very cool to see two UFC legends on the card as well. Dan Hardy going up against Diego Sanchez in a boxing bout. This was a massive honor for me. I watched your entire career. I was a massive fan of yours, and just the opportunity to sit down and talk to you and see you in such a great spot mentally, physically is a real delight, not just for me, but all your fans. You know this already. I wish you nothing but the best, not only on July 2nd, but in the future, to you and your family, your son Campbell, who's doing great as well. Thank you so much for the time, Ricky.
Yeah, my pleasure. And thanks very much to all the fans from the United States, to be honest with you. I was so, the greatest part of one of the greatest part of my career was coming over to the United States, and I hope to be back there. No, not fighting, but just want to say how appreciative I was for the fans from the US for the support that they give me all over the years. Wonderful times, wonderful memories that I took into retirement with me.
Thank you, Ricky. All the best.
All the best, everyone.
Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Ariel Helwani Show. If you want to check out some of our old episodes, or if you want to stay up to date with all the great things that we are doing here, please do like and subscribe to this here page. Trust me, some really cool things are coming up.